Welcome back, everyone. I'm David Greenberg, and you are watching From Purpose to Profit. This is a podcast where we invite guests on who are coaches, experts, thought leaders, who are living their purpose. They've discovered their true purpose, they've discovered their calling, and they're living intentionally, and they're running their business that way. And we invite them on here so that we can get inspired to do the same. Okay, so we can learn from them. And in that spirit, I've invited Danielle Joworski on to join me today. Danielle is someone I met through an event that I actually attended not too long ago and participated in. And then we've had some conversation as well. So Danielle, you've already had a chance to share a little bit of your story, which is great. Danielle is a visibility coach and a speaker, and also helps people with their digital presence. So Danielle, obviously people watching or listening many of them are probably not have met you yet. So welcome. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, thank you so much, David, for this opportunity to speak and talk about this journey really of to passion and purpose, which I can share, and we'll get into more detail about that. Like it was not easy. It has been a many-year process for me to really get connected to that. But once I discovered that passion, that purpose, everything has just kind of clicked in from there. For anyone who doesn't know me, again, my name is Danielle Joworski, as David said, and my passion is all about helping entrepreneurs to feel much more comfortable, shining the spotlight on themselves, to position themselves as the experts that they are, especially in the online space, so that you can be seen and heard and ultimately found and hired to do what it is that you feel called to do at this point in time in your life and your business.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, I know that when we approach our purpose, it's not always going to necessarily be one event. It could be a process. But what would you say have been some of the defining moments, or what were some key what was a key moment or moments where you realized that you needed to make a shift and that you wanted to make a shift?
Absolutely. I'm going to go back to university, because I know when I graduated from university, early 20s, I knew and I had the sense that I was here to do something big. I started going down that corporate, or not going down, climbing that corporate ladder, I should say. And I got to the point where I was turning 40, and I got to that magical age where I sat down, I gave myself a hard look in the mirror, and I said, this is no longer the life for me. Whatever path I thought I was on, I thought it was that right path. And it might have been at one point in time, but at that age, it's no longer the path that is meant for me. I felt that really deep down. So turning 40, literally on my 40th birthday, that was a turning point for me, where I did that reflective activity. I was very open and honest with myself. And then I was very open and honest with other people as well around what it is that I wanted, which I wasn't very clear on at the time. I just knew what I didn't want. I had to find the courage, though, to voice that. And then that started me on the path to personal development, self-discovery, which has led to now me understanding what it is that my passions are, what is my purpose, and how can I continue to fill that in very intentionally through what it is that I do.
Got it. And so for people who may be struggling with the same, what was it on your path to self-discovery that led you closer to finding your purpose?
For me, it all started with just discovering I didn't know. So at the time when I turned 20, 40. I was almost 20 years in Fortune 500. So that's my background, very, very corporate. And so when I stepped away, I said, I really wanted to feel fulfilled. I wasn't feeling fulfilled in the work that I was doing. So I looked around at all my friends who loved what they did. They were all entrepreneurs. They loved what they did, and they were all very successful. So I thought, hey, I want to do this too. I want to be an entrepreneur. How hard can it be? So it really set me through this path and journey where I was constantly doing new things. I learned so much being an entrepreneur. I think I learned more being an entrepreneur in my 40s than I've done in my growing up and through my corporate career, because you have to do everything. You're doing so much for the first time. And for me, it became really trying out different things. It came from failing little, failing just on the small things, and then also failing big. I failed in my first business when I stepped out of corporate at 40 that first time. I say that I failed because I failed to be visible. I found it extremely challenging to put myself, who I am, without that big corporate name behind me, but put myself out there to stand as me, to speak my truth. Because I didn't really know what that was. I wasn't comfortable voicing my opinion as myself. So I found if I couldn't be seen and heard as a business owner, I wasn't getting found and hired, which means that I had to return. I ended up returning to corporate after about 2.5 years, which there was a lot of shame, a lot of guilt around that. However, it became the catalyst to me really discovering that purpose where I know what I'm here to do. And it took me facing my greatest fear, which was visibility, facing it right on and head on and overcoming it. I did that because I had this idea where I wanted to connect the career challenges that other women were having in corporate to these solutions and services that women entrepreneurs provided that I was able to experience and take part of and learn about because of my entrepreneurial journey that first time. I wanted to bring those two things together. Working full time again back in corporate, I didn't have the time to worry about things. I just wanted something as easy as possible. Well, as easy as possible. So I actually ended up pitching a concept for a TV show to a local TV network. It was accepted, and as part of that pitch, it was I would host. I would host a show, and so I did. I faced that visibility and a paralyzing fear of the camera. I did not like the camera. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I sounded. So I faced that fear right on, became a TV host for 3 seasons. And through facing that fear, I found that like that's my passion. That is my purpose. And it's really creating these platforms for other entrepreneurs to be seen and heard so that they can be found and hired and not experience that sense of failure and all of that part of the journey that I did.
Amazing. And obviously to want to even, have the willingness to be a TV host, if you're someone that is not comfortable putting yourself out there, that takes a lot of guts, right? That's a gutsy move. So
It did, yeah.
was there something that inspired that? I mean, how did that even come about?
It came about, it's funny because when I was an entrepreneur, I actually did another pitch for a larger network that exists here in Canada. And it went nowhere. I heard crickets, which is fine. But I just had this idea that I wanted to create something really different that you weren't seeing on TV. Again, connecting challenges to solutions. That's my corporate background. It was all about continuous improvement and innovation. And so I was seeing something that wasn't existing currently in programming. And then as an entrepreneur, I was constantly hearing from other entrepreneurs, they just want to speak, they want to get themselves out there. Just there was no place to speak. This is well before Zoom and everything that has happened over the last couple of years. They really wanted to provide this platform for entrepreneurs to really elevate their presence and their voices. And then at the same time is also to help solve these problems and for people to see them, to connect problems to solutions and do it in a way that I felt really good about. Was it easy to even write the pitch? No, but I just felt this deep, and it's hard to explain it, but I knew that I could help. And again, it comes back to I didn't want other entrepreneurs to suffer in their businesses like I had. I also didn't want others, specifically women, to suffer in their careers and get to that point where maybe they were turning 40 or 50 or whatever that age was, looking in the mirror and saying, this is not the life for me. I'm not happy with myself. I'm not fulfilled. It's not what I want. So I wanted to bring those two worlds together in order for all of us to be able to elevate ourselves and to move more easily through our careers, our lives, or our businesses.
Got it. So it's kind of that idea of leaving things better than the way you found them, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. So we've talked a couple of times about this concept of visibility. Tell us more about that. What is visibility and why is that important?
Yes. So visibility for me, it comes down to what like it's different for everybody else. And visibility is that it's the ability to see and look within. So being visible, like externally, we get to see other people being visible because it's what we see. But visibility also is that internal journey and seeing yourself for who you are. going through that process around exactly who are you? What is your passion? What is your purpose? What do you, and really connecting with that deeper sense of that I believe everyone is here to do something extremely unique in this world. How do you discover that? And then how do you see yourself for not only who you are now, but who you are in that future sense? And then how do you find ways to express that internal you outwardly for other people to see in ways that feel really good to you?
Yeah, so it's like this idea that what's going on within you, what's going on, what you project out is a reflection of what's going on within you. This is something I've talked about a lot. So when we hear the word visibility, the first impression might be, being visible to the outside world, and that's obviously a part of it. But what you're saying, which I think is very important, is that it starts with the visibility of yourself within yourself. In other words, how you see yourself, and that's really the starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. So what is fulfillment?
Fulfillment for me, that's a great question. Fulfillment for me is knowing that what it is that I'm doing is completely aligned with, it could be your soul, it could be your spirit, and I'm showing up every day, creating an impact aligned with who I am and what I feel that I'm here to do. So that's fulfilled for me and fulfillment.
So would you say it's kind of like waking up in the morning and knowing that you're on the path? Is that related
Yeah,
to it?
or just knowing that, like feeling fulfilled. It's just like I feel fulfilled now because I know that what I'm doing, I'm oh, this is really good. And I'm really needing to articulate this because it becomes like waking up in the morning, I get fulfilled because I know that I'm living my truth. No one else's. I've done the internal work to try and keep the ego at bay, to protect myself from the negative thoughts of other people. But it's knowing that I'm showing up every day doing something that I feel alive doing. And there's this bigger purpose. It's not about me. It's taking away, well, I have to do something and changing it into, well, I get to do this. I get to have this conversation with you. Why? Because at the end of the day, we're going to say something in this conversation together that someone else is going to need to hear in order to move forward and overcome a challenge, to get a different perspective, to find a solution. And it comes from me being that person who I know that I am on a certain path, being open to it and creating an impact. For me, that's fulfilling and that's fulfillment, but doing it in a way that I feel completely aligned with who I am today, who I'm stepping into tomorrow, and doing it in a way that feels really good so that I am authentically showing up as myself, which allows others to truly see who I am, because then they get to also learn how to express themselves and be who they are too.
Got it. Okay. And obviously people who are watching and listening, they're probably struggling with these things to some extent. So just thinking about the viewer or the listener, is there anything else that you want to say directly to them to kind of encourage them to step forward and to empower themselves on this path?
Absolutely. And just from the fact that it's a journey. It's a journey. And as we discover who we are, that's not it. There's always that other layer to get into. And when I look at my entrepreneurial journey over the last 8 years, again, from 40 to where I am now, when I think I know myself, this is why I continually keep doing the work, because there's always that next layer. Whenever I want to step out and really grow and challenge myself, it means that I have to go back inside and understand, what are my limiting beliefs? What's holding me back? What stories have I been telling myself that are stopping me from moving forward? So when it comes to visibility or that sense of fulfillment, it's continually evolving and changing, because we are continually evolving and changing how we see ourselves, how we're showing up in the world, and how people are experiencing us.
For sure. And I think we need to start, part of it is also changing our relationship with things like failure, for example. Would you
Yeah.
agree? I know you mentioned failure earlier on, and I had to change my relationship to failure at some point. Now I look at failure now as as just an opportunity to learn something. And it's to be expected to some degree. I mean, we're not going to fail all the time, but we are going to fail. And, when we do, That's great. Now the faster I can learn from that experience, the faster I can move forward. So how would you relate to failure in context? Because I know a lot of people are struggling with this.
Yes, and that's a great question. When I look at failing big, so there's failing small and failing big as an entrepreneur, or really in your career. There's We're gonna have failures, but like you said, I've almost find more learning when you fail versus when things go tickety boo,
Yeah.
and it's like, woo, everything went perfect, great. So what do you learn from it? Well, we'll just do it the same again. So when you fail and you have these obstacles in front of you, it allows you to take that step back. If you are open and in the mindset of seeing the learnings that come with failure, it presents an opportunity for immense growth. And then if you really want to try something again, you can do it again differently. When I look at failure, I failed big in my first business because I failed to be visible. Again, recording anything on a camera for a video, it took me hours to record small snippets and I would constantly delete them. When I did finally put myself out there, once I got there, I could do it. But that journey to doing it, what wasn't so great. When I failed big in my business, and it really came from me really trying to push through a lot of barriers and not understanding who I was and allowing myself to see who I am. Failing small, and I've had lots of small failures, and it comes from continually pushing and growing and really exploring with a curiosity. When I look, especially around visibility, it becomes, well, I've failed many times around small failures around visibility because I'll be on a Zoom and I didn't hardwire into my internet, and then things don't go so great. You get the lagginess, or I've had it where just before I was going into a podcast, I wanted to just adjust my screen just a little bit. I literally moved my laptop in front of me, and then I lost my screen. It went black. So I did the entire podcast staring at a black screen. I've also done things live streaming for the first time where I'm trying to share my screen and it didn't go very well live. People were there, and I just learned not to apologize. It became thank you. Thank you for your patience. This is what I'm trying. This is what I'm trying to do. And if it doesn't work, we're just going to go with the flow. So failures are good because you get to learn a lot about yourself, your audience, your skill set, your gaps, and then you get to make a choice. Can you learn from that, or are you just going to give up on something? And I've learned over time that I used to have a habit of when I failed giving up, which was huge awareness for me. So now I get to flip that around and understand, okay, so when I fail, especially when I fail big, what's the learning and how can I use that to leverage or even leap from?
Yep. And probably injecting a little bit of humor helps too. I find that when things start going wrong, one of the issues we run into is it seems all so serious and a big deal, and probably seems worse to us than even the audiences that we may be interacting with or other people. So probably I would imagine injecting a little bit of humor and levity will help as well.
Absolutely. And I find, I don't know, I think over the last couple of years, especially when it comes to things like technology, people are a lot more open to things not going right. They're a lot more forgiving as long as you bring your audience and others along that journey of what's happening. As long as they're aware, it becomes, yep, been there. And a lot of people you'll get a lot more encouragement now because other people have experienced these small little failures as well. So that's what I find is just more being open, being honest as much as you can, for being honest, because I'm all about also keeping boundaries, but just bringing people along that journey with you. It's amazing how much support, cheerleading, and encouragement you can get from others through working through your failures when you're just open to sharing and having a good attitude about it.
Yep, amazing. People gravitate towards that authenticity because everybody can relate to some extent to these struggles. So it just makes it easier for people to galvanize around someone. That's amazing. So to the degree that you're willing to share, Danielle, where are you headed with this? Like, what's your next big vision? I'm sure this is not the final stop on your journey. What's up next?
It's not. So what's up next? And I can share, it's interesting because I've been on this journey recently around, and I find that in your business or career, you're going to have these ebbs and flows where you've got the period of time where you're just charging forward. And then the periods of time where you're just kind of sitting back. and you're a little bit of an ebb, just watching where things are, where are you in the world. And for me, it's been this reflective period over the last couple of months saying what's working, what feels really good, what doesn't feel so great. And so what changes do I need to make in order to get back into flow or increase that sense of fulfillment if I felt it was being a little bit lost? And I will completely share with the audience and yourself as well that over the last little bit, I wasn't feeling extremely fulfilled in what I was doing anymore. Like I paused and I took that time to really sit back and understand what's going on. What am I missing, or what is that gap? And realizing that, again, I'm a corporate girl. At the end of the day, I'm a corporate girl in an entrepreneurial world. There are certain elements about that corporate world and working that I really miss being an entrepreneur. So it's really understanding how can I bring how I work best and where I thrive from the corporate world and bring it into how I run my business and how I be an entrepreneur. So there's some changes happening around how and what I do and how I operate as a business owner. But then my biggest purpose and passion, everything always goes back to that, is I didn't feel that I was there anymore. I was missing that. And it all comes down to, again, me hosting a TV show and providing this platform and leading conversations. I wasn't doing that anymore because I was getting caught up in running and growing a business, that I was kind of leaving that piece around. So I'm returning to that. I've got another idea for a different TV show, once again, providing a platform to elevate the voices and presence of others. But that's what I want to go back to, holding these powerful conversations, bringing people together in a really unique way. And so I'm excited, really brainstorming that out, and then hopefully in the next couple of months, making that come into fruition.
Amazing. Well, definitely keep us posted. That sounds great. I mean, it's doubling down again on what you've already been able to do successfully, putting yourself out there once again. And obviously, television, any kind of medium where you're putting yourself out there is a very powerful medium, because it kind of, allows us to showcase things and in front of an audience. So it is a really powerful medium, whether it's a television show or live, speaking in front of a live audience or anything like that, producing films. These are all very powerful mediums that are both artistic. They're artistic and creative as much as they are insightful and educational. So wishing you a lot of success with that as you roll it out. And part of it's also just, in order to avoid boredom, we just need to be always regenerating, right? So we can't, in any trajectory, we can't really expect to do the same thing over and over again and not feel some desire to change something. So it's natural to want to evolve beyond that. So that's really great, Danielle. So for people someone who's watching, listening, who's like, wow, I'd like to discover more about this, maybe you can invite how they can get involved, how they can, follow your LinkedIn. I mean, we'll provide some links below, but what would be a good starting point for people who want to get more involved?
Absolutely. So following social media, like you just said, LinkedIn, Danielle Joworski, or I'm on Instagram as well at Danielle A. Joworski. If you'd like a little more insight into how I do what I do, then you can always check out my website as well, daniellejoworski.com.
Okay, great. And is there any question that you would have wished that I had asked you but didn't, that you would just want to go ahead and ask yourself?
I love that. You ask great questions. I have to say that, like that whole fulfillment piece, that was really good. I think, no, I'm good. I just, like you guys, great questions, very insightful. And it's good to make your guests kind of think, and especially in a podcast like this, because purpose and passion, sometimes it can be a struggle. And when you hear other people talking about it and you're not sure what it is for you, and sometimes we can feel like, oh, well, but what's wrong with me? I don't feel like I have a purpose. So how do you start that journey? I think you've done a great job with this podcast and the questions you've asked today, really letting people know that it is a journey. There's no one way to discovering what it is. And like my final message is like, when you think you've got it, like you'll know it. But then there's this always continual diving deeper on it as well. As you get more clarity around who you are and what it is that you're meant to do, it will become more clear. But it's a journey. So enjoy the process and have fun.
That's a great way to wrap it up there. I would just say that the way I interpret that is, you can find the answers within you, but also seek inspiration. So when you and others come on here, we're just sharing how we were able to figure this out from different perspectives, and that provides encouragement. And that's really what we wanted for you, the audience member, the viewer, or the listener, to get inspired that you can find the answers. And if you're feeling stuck, there you will be able to figure out a way to make that happen. So having said that, Danielle, I really appreciate it. Great conversation with you today. Really appreciate you sharing with us. And thank you so much for being a guest.
You're welcome. Thank you, David, for this opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we'll see you again in the next episode. We'll see you again very soon. Take care.